UFC 245, Usman versus Covington just wrapped up, and as much as there is salt coursing through my veins over the stoppage in the last fight, it was a great event overall. An amazing event overall. So we're going to start with the early prelims, end with the main event, going through every single fight on the card, giving our reaction and breakdown, starting with Pauliano Soriano versus Oscar Piacota. Pauliano Soriano's a real fucking deal. The next Hawaiian up next. I guess you're going to put him on a card with every time Holloway fights. I like Pauliano Soriano. Brutal KO in the first round. I don't know what I want to see from him next, but there's another middleweight, Brendan Allen, who just had one big win in the UFC. Maybe that's the fight that they want to make next. Jessica Ai versus Vivian Araújo. Should be a loss for Jessica Ai. She missed weight by 5 pounds. You shouldn't be able to win fights by missing weight by 5 pounds. Because otherwise, you're going to set a precedent that says you should miss weight because you're more likely to win. Take your win bonus over the 30% that you're going to lose. And I don't understand the rules about that. I feel like if you miss weight, you should lose out on your win bonus should you win. I think that's a rule that definitely needs to change. And I don't know why the rule hasn't changed yet, if I'm honest with you. You should definitely lose your win bonus if you win after missing weight. I think that's a precedent that has to be set. And for Jessica Ai, I don't know who I want to see her face next. Maybe fucking, I don't know, Joanne Calderwood or some shit like that. Brandon Moreno versus Kai Kara France. I picked Brandon Moreno to win. A lot of people were going for Kai Kara France here, but Brandon Moreno mixes it up very well, and that switch kick to the head just kept Kai Kara France guessing all night. The jabs from Brandon Moreno are very effective, utilising his reach advantage perfectly. And Brandon Moreno just edged out every round for the clear decision win, in my opinion. Kai Kara France is a beast. They're both young. They're both going to bounce back regardless, and I think the next fight to happen should be Brandon Moreno versus the winner of Matt Schnell versus Alejandro Pantoja, and Kai Kara France versus some fucking flyweight coming off a loss. I don't really know any of their fucking names. I'm a hardcore MMA fan. Don't know half the fucking flyweight roster, so that tells you all you need to know about that division. Moving on, Chase Hooper. No Tattoo Sean O'Malley versus Daniel Tamer. I picked Tamer to win. Thought he was going to be a veteran because the last guy that Chase Hooper fought, he took to a draw, and it was a very close fight. But Chase Hooper gets the win. Undefeated featherweight coming up. Daniel Tamer probably should be cut from the UFC at this point. He's 7-4 now. That's not the best of records to have. Chase Hooper gets the easy win in the first round. Dominant performance to headline the early prelims. Very impressive. Very impressive. I don't know who I want to see him fight next, but there's a bunch of guys at featherweight that I'm sure would like to put their name in the hat, because I'm sure that a lot of people look at Chase Hooper and think this guy's very easily beatable. But he isn't. He's a savage, and he surprised me, if I'm honest with you guys, and now he's still undefeated, and we've got another featherweight to look out for. Moving on to the prelims, starting with Matt Brown versus Ben Saunders. Matt Brown, I predicted a KO, TKO in the first round. It came in the second. I mean, I've just seen Ben Saunders KO too many times. Matt Brown had some issues with the triangle in the first round, but Ben Saunders put his own arm trapped in his own triangle, which gave Matt Brown the space to breathe. So I don't understand what that was all about. Maybe he was rocked on the ground or something like that and he didn't quite know what he was doing, but he had his arm in his own triangle, giving Matt Brown enough space to breathe, which was strange to me. But Matt Brown gets to finish in the second round. I'd like to see Matt Brown stay in the UFC. I feel like there should almost be like an untold different division to every division of the old timers. Let's stop pitting them up against the fucking new up and comers. Unless they're on a hot streak, let's just have some fun with the matchups. You've got Matt Brown, Carlos Condit. You got Matt Brown versus the winner of Diego Sanchez, Mikael Pereira. That could be an interesting fight. If Mikael Pereira wins, that could be a new fight that can happen. Matt Brown should stick around because he's winning fights and he's getting paid a decent amount of money. And what else is he going to do with his life? He's not taking too much damage and he's beating guys. So keep going, Matt Brown. I want to see him again in 3 months. Let's make it happen. Ian Heinisch versus Omari Akhmedov. I picked Akhmedov to win by decision. Thought his cardio was going to be a little bit too much for Ian Heinisch. Ian Heinisch, man, I don't know what needs to change, but his cardio just doesn't seem to be able to keep up whatsoever, really. And I'm not sure why, but he's such a hulking guy and he's such a heavy, upset guy. I think he needs to really look at the demographics of his body more than anything. If I could offer any kind of advice to come away from this fight, like, he has the build of a guy who's going to wrestle fuck you, and he doesn't shoot for too many takedowns. So I feel like his body doesn't represent who he is as a fighter. I feel like he could do with trimming down a little bit, and maybe being a lighter guy in there, because he does like to utilise footwork. I feel like the best move for him to be would just to be trim some weight, You're coming off 2 losses in a row. I don't know who I want to see him fight next. Maybe him versus... I don't know. I actually have no idea. Maybe him versus fucking... I honestly don't know. What's his name? Kevin Holland. Coming off a loss. Trailblazer. He's 3-1 at middleweight, I'm pretty sure. Other than this fight to Thiago Santos. Give him versus Ian Heinisch. Both guys coming off a loss. Both young guys. Only one can remain in the UFC. And for Omari Akhmedov, I feel like the best fight for him would either be Krzysztof Jotko or the winner of Antonio Carlos Jr. versus Brad Tavares. That sounds like a plan to me. Ketlin Vieira versus Irene Aldana. You got one at women's bantamweight. You got one. If you're getting KOs in women's bantamweight, you're going to have a lot of hype behind you regardless of who you're doing it to. And she did it to the number 2 girl in the world. Big first round stoppage from Irene Aldana. Very impressive performance. She was kind of getting outstruck a tiny bit in the fight, but then just completely took over once she got her hurt and flattened her into the canvas, I guess, with 9 seconds to go in the round. Great finish from Irene Aldana. I think the next fight to make would be Irene Aldana versus Aspen Ladd. And whoever wins that one can maybe get the next title shot, or Irene Aldana versus the winner of Holly Holm versus Raquel Pennington is also a great fight that you could make. Wonderful. Not bad to look at either, if I'm honest with you. Very, very impressive performance. Gets a first round KO. We need interest at women's bantamweight. And I think they should put it in a decent spot on a card. Maybe Irene Aldana versus Aspen Ladd in the co-main event of a fight night. Maybe Irene Aldana versus Holly Holm or Raquel Pennington on the main card of a pay-per-view. Something like that. We need some hype around the bantamweight division because right now Nunes is just molesting every single girl that comes her way. Jeff Neal versus Mike Perry. Very impressive performance from Jeff Neal. Very impressive performance. I'd only really seen him beat Frank Carmouche. Frank Camacho, sorry, that's Liz Carmouche. Frank Camacho, I'd only ever seen him beaten. I just saw Frank Camacho lose to Beneil Dariush at lightweight. So I was kind of iffy about how much credibility I'm going to give Jeff Neal here. He then beat Nico Price, but it was a double knockdown, if you remember. And Jeff Neal just kind of landed on top. So I didn't really give him credit for that win. This win, I have to give him credit for. Beats Mike Perry in the first round, whatever version of Mike Perry you think it is. It was the perfect placed head kick. Mike Perry even clipped him around the side of the head with a hook, and Jeff Neal kind of staggered to the left a little bit, but Jeff fucking the real deal Neal is an absolute beast, and I think he should definitely take on a worthy opponent next, whether that be Robbie Lawler, which I think was the fight that was up for grabs here. Mike Perry, Jeff Neal, Robbie Lawler sitting out without an opponent, or Jeff Neal versus Santiago Ponzinibbio, which I think would be an amazing fight. So I'm glad to see any one of them. And for Mike Perry, fuck, man, I love Mike Perry, man. That's my brother. That's my brother right there, man. Representing the hood. I don't know what I want to see from Mike Perry. I can't think of anyone coming off a loss other than Robbie Lawler, but do we really want to keep throwing Mike Perry into these tough fights? I don't think we do. I think right now the best thing for Mike Perry would be take some time, really consider healing that nose up to the maximum of its potential in perhaps 6 months or something. I want to see him come back and take on a guy coming off a loss, maybe just outside the rankings. I don't know who that could possibly be. Maybe James Vick. Maybe James Vick. There you go. That's a nice easy win for Mike Perry, I'd say. So James Vick versus Mike Perry sounds good to me. Good fight. Jeff Neal, absolute beast, deserves a performance of the night bonus, but he's not going to get one because the main card was so sick. Piotr Jan versus Uriah Faber. Jan's going to get a fucking bonus. That's a fact. Jan, in my opinion, deserves that bonus. I don't know who got the bonuses, but Jan just fucking bullied Uriah Faber. I thought that Faber was going to have more moments in the first round, and I actually predicted a third round TKO from Piotr Jan in the second half of the fight because that seemed the most obvious one. If it wasn't going to go to a decision, it was definitely going to be a late finish. Piotr Jan is a bully. He walks you down, he takes everything you throw at him, and he just throws it back with vicious intent. And he did it to Uriah Faber here. And Faber is no slouch. Just beat Ricky Simone. And Jan just walked through him. And I think the next fights that are maybe going to happen are probably going to be Piotr Jan versus Aljamain Sterling or Corey Sandhagen. Or Piotr Jan versus Aldo for the next title shot. And we'll get to that in a second. I know you guys are wondering, what, Aldo? But Uriah Faber, listen, if Edgar wants to come down to bantamweight after the Korean zombie fight, Faber versus Edgar 2 sounds like an amazing comeback. Sounds like an amazing fight to make for Edgar's debut in the division. I'd really look forward to it, and I'd love to see it. Marlon Moraes versus Jose Aldo. I rewatched the fight. I don't think it was a robbery, but I think Aldo won. Because when you look at the numbers, they had equal strikes in the first round. I think it was 12-12. But Moraes landed a takedown at the end, so I gave Moraes the first round. I think we all kind of agree that Moraes got the first round. I think we definitely all agree that Aldo got the second round. I mean, if nothing else from this fight, we've learned how to beat Marlon Moraes. I think like that's what's happened here. We've definitely learned how to beat Marlon Moraes. You just cut off the cage, put pressure on him, and he wilts, and he doesn't like going backwards because he has to set up all of his kicks. It's like Edson Barboza, who trains with Marlon Moraes, funnily enough. They all have the same way to be beaten. Jose Aldo should have won, I think, in the third. I think he kind of edged it. But then again, Marlon Moraes was landing clean shots in the third as well. And Aldo only landed one more strike. So I can excuse a judge getting it wrong, if I'm honest with you guys. I don't think this was a massive robbery, like a huge robbery. I just think Aldo should have won. He didn't because it was close and it went to Marlon Moraes. But Aldo should be treated as a winner here, I feel. Especially, you got to show some respect to the legend of Aldo. I think he got the job done. And I think he should fight off against Piotr Jan for the next title shot. And maybe we'll do Marlon Moraes versus Aljamain Sterling rematch. Sounds good to me. Amanda Nunes versus Jermaine de Randamie next. Just domination. Domination. There were moments in the fight where de Randamie had Nunes in a triangle, but Nunes did an amazing job to escape it in various different ways. Very good performance from Nunes. De Randamie also landed a head kick. I thought it was going to be over in the first round, the way things were going. I thought she was completely going to destroy her. And then in the second round, I actually started worrying because Nunes just emptied the gas tank. But she can go 5 rounds after that, apparently. Like, it's no problem. And Nunes just dominates for 5 rounds. Yeah, that's Nunes. More domination. The only fight I could see for her next would be the winner of Holm versus Pennington. Takes on either Irene Aldana or Aspen Ladd. The winner of that one gets the next title shot. But other than that, I mean, there's just no competition for bantamweight. I don't know what she's going to do next. I have no idea. I really have no idea what's going to happen. But we'll see. We'll see. Max Holloway versus Alexander Volkanovski. I had Volkanovski winning every single round. I don't understand this is what I don't understand. You have 3 people in your corner. During the fight, 2 of them serve no purpose. You have one man's voice in your corner that you know, and is your most trustworthy voice, and he will bark out instructions to you. The other 2 guys in your corner, Holloway, and this is not just to Holloway, this is to the majority of fighters in general, are just there to scream generic shit like, yeah, get him, or punch him, yeah, kick him, throw that leg kick, and just generic stuff for them to call out from the corner. Please, every single fighter, utilize one member of your corner team to count nothing but strikes. To keep a tally of strikes you landed and strikes that have been landed on you. And then to give you an honest result, an unbiased statement after the round, whether you won that round or not. Because I kept hearing Holloway's corner saying, you're up this round. Like, let's just get these last 2 rounds and all this. Holloway had to finish. Holloway had to go, and I was wondering during the fight, why is Holloway not fighting with more urgency here? He's not winning this fight. He's losing every round. Even though he was landing well, I mean, as much as the leg kicks from Volkanovski weren't really having an effect, they were scoring points, and he was landing lots of them. And you're looking at significant strikes to determine a round. Volkanovski was clearly up every single round. At the end of round 2, he had double the significant strikes, just from that tappy leg kick. But those are points. And Holloway's corner team just kept telling him he was winning rounds, and I didn't understand it. And it just baffles me that would even happen, because Holloway could have tried and emptied it in the 4th and 5th, but he just didn't because he thought he was ahead. I have no idea how he thought he was ahead. I really don't. I don't know if Holloway doesn't count leg kicks if they don't hurt. I don't know what happened there, but I think the only fight that would make sense is a rematch. I don't see a clear-cut contender otherwise. You've got Korean zombie Frankie Edgar. You've got Zabit, who just barely survived a declined 5-round main event to a 3-round main event against Calvin Kattar, who's ranked outside the top 10 or is maybe number 10 right now. I'm not too sure. You've got Yair Rodriguez, who just beat Stevens, but Stevens has been coming off some losses. I think the best thing to do right now would be make a rematch between Holloway and Volkanovski, and on the main card of that rematch, do Zabit versus Yair Rodriguez for the next title shot. And I think that would be the best thing to do. And I'd like to see it in about 3 months' time. Great fight, though. Real technical. Volkanovski's a savage. I have to give it to him. Moving on. And my salt around this has really drained. I've had a bit of a sleep. It was 8 a.m. when I was talking about this fight. Please excuse me. Very good job by Usman. Very good performance by Usman. You had Colby Covington, in my opinion, won the first round. Potentially won the second round. But I could see it maybe going each way. I just rewatched it recently. Then Usman won the third, in my opinion. I think that's pretty unanimous that we all kind of think that Usman won the third. And then the fourth, I thought, went to Covington. So I actually had Covington up on the scorecards. I don't know if I was blinking and missing shots, but I thought I had Covington up on the scorecards. I really did, because although Usman was landing shots, and to me the commentary was kind of biased towards Covington, but although Usman was landing shots, like Usman would land a straight right, and they would call the straight right, but what you wouldn't notice is, while Usman lands the straight right, Colby just tapped him to the inside of the leg with an inside leg kick. So that kind of neutralizes the exchange. And I think we looked at the more explosive guy to determine who was winning the rounds, when Colby was keeping active and outstriking him a lot of those rounds. But Usman gets the job done. Very good performance. And I tell you what, for the wrestler of Usman to be the first guy to figure out that body shots against Covington are very effective, because Covington likes to shell up. And when you shell up like this in MMA and keep your hands high, like Gaethje, body shots are there all day, every day. And Usman figured that one out in the middle of the fight, and I respect him for that. That was an amazing performance. Then you go into the fourth round. Covington was winning it with a broken jaw. Shows how tough Covington is. And in the fifth and final round, kind of going back and forth, but Usman started taking advantage of Colby. Colby, I'm assuming, couldn't breathe, because you could see it every now and again. He'd go and touch his jaw and even like adjust it, which was weird. I'm waiting to hear a final result on whether his jaw was broken or not. But Covington, you made $500,000 for a title contender. That is a lot of money. Some contenders make about, I wouldn't be surprised if Volkanovski made nowhere near that kind of money. I'm sure he would have made probably half. They know how much of a draw Covington is. They know why it says he wants to see Covington versus Woodley, which leaves Leon Edwards spare for a Kamaru Usman fight. I'm not too interested in that fight, but, you know, Covington can still bounce back here. If he beats Woodley and does good numbers and builds in a massive event, he can be straight and next in line for a title shot. That's how it works. This fight was very close. You can mark it as the closest fight of Kamaru Usman's career, because it was. It was 2-2 going into the fifth, or 3-1 to Colby, wherever you had it. And then Usman made me an adjustment in the fifth round, and you could see it on Colby Covington. The shots were affecting him a different way. In the fifth round, there was no support structure behind his jaw anymore, and Usman was just popping him, and it was just like, and his jaw was going all over the place. There wasn't the same defense. There wasn't the same stand your ground anymore. It was kind of like he was being just popped all over the place, because his jaw was just hanging on for dear life. And Usman gets to finish in the fifth round. I will say this. There were illegal shots to the back of the head. It was an early stoppage. However, he would have won anyway. Or it would have been a draw on one judge's scorecard. But Usman would have won a majority decision anyway. I don't see Colby getting up from that position. I don't think it should have been stopped. I think it should be given any chance that Colby can to survive, because he wasn't... Like, we've seen things. We've seen Whittaker Romero. Like, we've seen people given a chance, and they show that that chance can mean something. And I know he got dropped twice, but he didn't, like, drop and smash his head off the canvas. Like, he dropped, he pushed it up, sat himself back up. I would have liked it seen to go to a decision, or maybe to give Colby that chance in the fifth to get back up and show how tough he is. However, the referee saw enough shots to the back of the head and the side of the head as well, which also happened, that he decided to call off the fight. And you got to just respect the ref's decision, I guess. I really do think that some stoppages, and we've seen this twice in a row with Overeem, Rosenstruik, and now Usman Covington, when it's coming to the end of the fight, I feel like the justification for a stoppage needs to be a little bit different. Because you watched Gastelum versus Adesanya, and in that fifth round, Gastelum, that fight could have been stopped. If that fight was tonight, it would have been stopped. But you gave Gastelum that chance to show how tough he was and go to a decision and not have that KO loss on his record. And I feel like at the end of a round, you have to give that benefit of the doubt that there is only this many seconds left. And we'll see what happens. But Usman gets the job done. Dominant performance. He said that Leon Edwards is deserving of a title shot. I'd love to see the numbers on how popular that would be. I really would. But I think it would be a good fight, because Usman's name just exploded because he's the guy who beat Colby Covington. And you get a lot of respect for that, I'm sure. So maybe Usman versus Leon Edwards would be a bigger fight than we imagine. But I think the better fight to happen would be do Leon Edwards versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and just give Edwards a break, like a main event, a pay boost or something like that, just to keep him quiet for now. And then do Usman versus Masvidal, Covington versus Tyron Woodley, whenever Covington's back and ready to go. The winners, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with the winners. Because if Woodley wins and Usman wins, probably not going to do a rematch, so they'll give it to Leon Edwards if he beats Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. And if Masvidal wins and Colby wins, you're damn right they're doing that fight next. So we'll see what happens next. I feel like that's what should happen though. We'll see. Should be a good time. Real good time for the UFC. Would have been much better if Colby won, because we'd have an immediate Covington Masvidal booked probably right now. But Usman won. We got to deal with it. We've got to remove the salt from our veins, which I have coursing through me right now, because I was so... If Covington won, I would have been so happy. Because Masvidal Covington, in my opinion, would do massive numbers. That would do Khabib or McGregor numbers, in my opinion. So I wanted to see that fight so badly, and I'm angry because now I don't think we're going to get to see it unless the stars once again align. And we'll see what Covington does from here. Does he keep with the stick? I think he will keep with the shtick. I believe it's pronounced. And we'll see what happens. Covington had a good performance. Usman had a little bit of a better performance. Usman didn't break his jaw. Usman broke Covington's jaw. He wins the fight by 5th round TKO. Could have been a decision. Went to a 5th round TKO. I'm over it. Good job, Usman. Let's see him versus Leon Edwards or Jorge Masvidal next. And we'll go from there. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Can I just say, I got a lot of hate on my video. It was 8 AM. Okay? I'm not right in my mind. I've stayed up. I went to work that morning at 8 AM. Saturday morning I was at work. 8 AM. I was up Sunday morning at 8 AM. I'd been awake for 24 hours. Please allow me to vent my anger in any way I see fit. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button there. Goodbye.